NXT starts off with Tatum Paxley versus Wendy Choo and a casket match. This got set up at Halloween Havoc with Tatum Paxley spinning the wheel and then landed on casket match, which is very ironic because she got put in a container. So it's very it's very shocking that it landed in a casket match. They definitely rigged that spinner, but this match was great. I did not expect this match to be as great as it was. This was a great opening match, man. This match exceeded my expectation. We had some crazy spots. We had some one spot where Wendy Choo ended up slamming Tatum Paxley onto a dollhouse. We had another spot where Wendy Choo pulled out some Legos and ended up doing a slam onto Tatum Paxley onto the Legos. I know that spot had to hurt. But then we end up getting one spot towards the end of the match where Wendy Choo has Tatum Paxley in the casket, and she decides to end up doing a ring apron elbow drop into the casket. But as she did it, once she lands in the casket ends up, closing on both of them, but the match doesn't end because opponent has to end up closing the casket. The casket ends up rising, and then Wendy Choo rises up. Then Wendy ended up getting
And it certainly looks
rises up
like
right
Wendy
after her.
Choo.
Both of them rising up like the Undertaker back to back, which I thought was very cool. But then afterwards, we end up getting Tatum Paxley. Wendy Choo is on top of the casket. Wendy Choo and not Wendy Choo. Tatum Paxley ends up getting the fire extinguisher. Using the fire extinguisher which ends up leading to Wendy Choo landing on like some type of toy object, some type of toy set, which allowed Tatum Paxley to put Wendy Choo in the casket, picking the victory. Glad that Tatum Paxley beat Wendy Choo because I would have been very frustrated if Wendy Choo won this feud. I'm assuming this is the end of the feud because I don't know how can you go beyond a casket match. This was great. This was a really great, fun match. This exceeded my expectations. This was great. I don't know what's next for Tatum Paxley. I doubt it's. Yeah, I don't know what's next for Tatum Paxley because both the title scenes for the women is very busy, so I don't know what's next for her. But this was great. This was a very great opening. Now we end up getting Trick Williams. He ends up cutting a promo. Well, he tries to cut a promo, but he basically ends up calling out Bubba Ray to talk about what happened at NXT. What happened at Halloween Havoc. Then he ends up mentioning wanting revenge on Ridge Holland and Ethan Page, and how that he knows that Bubba wants revenge as well. And he suggests a tag match between them two because next week they're going to be going to the ECW arena, so it makes sense to have Bubba Ray in a match. Bubba Ray ends up declining the offer because he feels like it's unfair, that it would take opportunities for others in the locker room, and he ends up leaving the ring. Of course, this was a setup. Of course, we already know this is a setup to build anticipation for when eventually they do end up revealing that they will end up teaming up. This was an overall really good promo though. Now we end up getting Lexis King versus Charlie Dempsey. Lexis King ended up finding someone to be in his corner, which ended up being William Regal. This was a really good match until they end up playing an injury angle during the match, which I kind of didn't like, especially due to the fact that the way that Lexis King lost the match, he didn't need an injury angle. I don't understand why did they play an injury angle if he wasn't going to lose because of the injury, because he didn't lose because of the injury, which was very weird that they played this angle, even though that's not the reason why he lost. But this was a really good match until the injury angle. They was putting on a really great match, but towards the end of the match, William Regal tries to offer Lexis King brass knuckles, but Lexis King declines it again. He declines it and ends up saying that he is not like his father, which allowed Charlie Dempsey to take advantage and picks up the victory. I'm very interested in this Lexis King storyline of him being a quote-unquote babyface. This could go two ways. Either Lexis King becomes a real babyface and they continue this route, or two, he's going to keep losing and then he goes back to his heel ways because of him losing. It's one or the other. Either way, I'm interested. Like I said, I don't agree with the injury angle because I didn't understand it, because he didn't lose because of the injury angle. He lost because he didn't want to cheat. But it is very interesting to see how they're playing Lexis King. Now we end up getting Zaria. She makes her in-ring debut. I'm not going to speak too much on it. She basically dominates Brindley Reese. I'm not going to speak too much on it. After the match, though, Zaria then ends up coming out. Fatal Influence comes out. They was talking on the microphone, but then Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade comes out as well. And they're about to jump her. But then Kelani Jordan comes out. Then you end up getting Stephanie Baker and Julia. They end up coming out to try to help. Fatal Influence and Cora Jade and Roxanne was about to still try to, attack because they still got the advantage. But then Jordan Grace, of all people, ends up coming out, ends up making it even, and then they all end up brawling, and we already knew the baby faces were going to stand tall. They end up destroying them, and then it ends up confirming that it will be a 10-woman tag team match next week. NXT is going to be on Wednesday at the ECW arena. That match should be a banger. Now, I think it's very obvious who's winning that match, because if you have Fatal Influence on your team, you're losing. Like, that's just obvious. But also, you're not beating Jordan Grace, Zaria. Like, that's just too stacked up a team. But yeah, next week, that match should be an absolute banger. But we already know who's winning that match. The babyfaces are clearly winning. But that match should be an absolute banger. I am excited for that match. We end up getting a quick segment with Kelani Jordan and Nikkita. Kelani wanted another opportunity at her NXT North American Championship, but Nikkita Lyons kind of interfered and basically says that she got next. So this ends up leading to a match between Kelani and Nikkita. Kelani ends up picking up the victory after Nikkita Lyons ends up getting distracted by Adriana Rizzo, because Adriana Rizzo finds out that it was Nikkita that attacked her. So Kelani ends up picking up the victory via distraction of Adriana Rizzo. Then Adriana ends up attacking Nikkita Lyons. I'm very interested to see how that goes. Now, Adriana Rizzo is still very green in the ring. As a character, she has her character down pat. It's more so in the ring that she's still green. So I don't know how that would play out. Now I will say this. I don't think we needed a match between these two, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't think we really needed a match, if I'm being honest. You could have done the same thing without the match. Could have just had them brawl. I don't think we needed a match to really showcase this, to be honest. I feel like this was more of a filler thing, especially if you was gonna have Kelani just win the match anyway. Yeah, that's just me personally. It was a decent match. I just didn't think it was necessary, to be honest. But overall, it was a solid segment. Now we end up getting Ethan Page. He comes out. He was trying to talk about how he deserves a shot at the NXT title and how he's not done with Trick Williams. But then Rich Holland comes out and he basically pleads his case and basically saying that he's the one next in line for Trick. And then he starts dissing Bubba Ray, saying that it was a good idea that Bubba Ray declined the match because it wasn't going to go well for him. Bubba Ray comes out and he basically ends up, addressing Ridge Holland and Ethan Page, addresses the constant disrespect. Then Ridge Holland responds back and ends up saying that Bubba Ray run in ECW was very overrated and that he needs to go ahead and leave, or his co-host he won't be a co-host on his own podcast, basically, because he won't be able to make it due to, Ridge Holland putting him in the hospital. Bubba Ray ends up attacking Ridge Holland, which then allowed Ethan Page to attack Bubba Ray. Trick Williams then comes out, makes the save. Then this sets up the tag match with Bubba Ray finally agreeing. So that match should be very entertaining. I'm very excited for that match, especially with them being in the ECW arena. Very curious to see how it looks after all these years. Is it still going to look the same, or are they going to remodel it and put their own spin on it? But I'm excited for the match, and I love this segment, and I can't wait for that match. That match should be very fun. We end up getting one of the most interesting things on the show. Rhea Ripley was on the show, and she ends up getting attacked by Liv Morgan and Raquel, and she's bleeding. She got attacked in the NXT parking lot. If you know about the NXT parking lot, you know that is one of the most dangerous places in WWE. But she ends up being bloody, like completely bloody, completely banged up. This was great. Now, it's okay. I don't want to be disrespectful, but Shawn Michaels is already booking Liv Morgan and Raquel and Liv Morgan better than Triple H. Now, who knows? Maybe Triple H had input on this. Maybe he had some input. Maybe Triple H booked this part. But bro, if this was all Shawn Michaels, congratulations. This is what we've been needing out of this feud. This is all we needed. Make Rhea Ripley vulnerable. Make it difficult for her to get her title. This is all we've been asking for. Now, I don't even want this feud, to be honest, but just if you're going to have this feud, all you have to do is make Rhea Ripley sympathetic, make us want us to root for it. Now, to be fair, most people are already rooting for her in terms of the crowd, but you got to make it more challenging. This is all. Now, to be fair, why didn't we have this on Raw? That's what I want to know. Now, I don't mind main roster stars going to NXT. I just feel like it has to make sense. This didn't make no sense at all, if we're being honest. Now, Rhea Ripley was in the show earlier, talking to the baby faces that's going to be in the 10-woman tag match. But even then, that still didn't make sense. This should have happened on Raw. Rhea Ripley didn't do anything on Raw. Liv Morgan and Raquel didn't do anything on Raw. You could have just had this on Raw. But this, which makes me believe that Shawn Michaels booked this. Because if this was on Raw, why would you have it on the next episode? This had to be Shawn Michaels. I'm sorry. This had to be Shawn Michaels. No offense to Hunter. I love Hunter. Great booker. But come on, man. Like, this should have happened on Raw, but apparently, I guess Triple H didn't think of this idea. This was great. This is what we need, more of this, but I highly doubt it. But we need more of this. This is what we need. If you do more stuff like this, I'm invested in the feud, but I'm over this feud. I've been wanted Rhea Ripley to retain, I mean, not retain, get her title back. But if you keep doing stuff like this, which I highly doubt, I'm back in the feud. But this was great. This was amazing. I love this. This was amazing. This is what we need. We need more of this. Now we end up getting the main event, which was a this was a banger. Nathan Axiom versus Javon and Cedric. This was a banger. And Javon Evans, bro, is winning me over with every match he has. The spots that he was doing in this match was insane, bro. He was doing some of the craziest stuff I have ever seen. It was one moment where he jumped off the second rope onto another second rope into a cutter, which was, I never seen anything like that before. Then we had another spot where Nathan was going for a pin, if I'm not mistaken. Then Javon Evans steps on Nathan to break the pin and then ends up going into another cutter after that. Javon Evans is a special talent. The fact that he's only like 19, I think he's younger than me, which is crazy. Like, the fact that he's only 19 doing stuff like this is wild. But we do get towards the end of the match. Wesley comes out. Javon Evans sees him. Javon Evans attack. They brawl all the way backstage. Then this allowed Nathan Axiom to take advantage to pick up the victory. This was a banger match. I didn't like the way it ended, but I understand why it ended that way. I still didn't like the way it ended, in my opinion, but I understand why it did. This was a banger match. This was a great match. This was a really good episode of NXT. I can't wait for their ECW arena. I can't wait for them to be in that arena to see how that plays out. But this was overall a really good episode of NXT. You guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.